Today we're going to learn a technique on how to add texture to paintings and how to do some 3D painting with acrylic. So just some materials. First I have an assortment of regular paints. I've got some palette knives. One of them is actually a knife I use for my cake decorating. I have pastry tips. These aren't necessary, but I like to pipe with a pastry bag. And then the most important thing is heavy gel medium. I use Liquitex brand, but there's a lot of good acrylic mediums out there. But this is what you mix with your paint to give it that really thick consistency. So here you can see it on my fork. This is the consistency of it. When you put it down or when you pipe it or when you use it with the knife, it keeps its peaks, it keeps the movement, and it really maintains the flow and the structure. So the great thing with this medium is even though it looks white right here, it dries transparent. So you won't lose the vibrancy of your colors. When it's mixed, it may look a little less vibrant, but as it dries transparent, all of that color will come back. So to start, I'm just going to mix up my paint. So this is just regular acrylic paint. As you can see, I have some craft brands, some regular craft brand paints, and then I have some artist quality paint. And this is just to show you that you really can use any kind of acrylic paint you want as long as it's heavy body. Don't use anything like high flow acrylic because it will change the texture or the consistency and will make it not so stiff. So I'm using my palette knife and I'm just mixing in my paint with the medium, and as you can see, it really is all mixing in, and you can already see that it retains its texture. So I went ahead and mixed up all of my paints. You do the same technique of mixing with your medium and your paint for all of the colors you want. And I have just a regular canvas that I haven't prepped. I use a gallery wrap canvas, but you can use any canvas or anything that you really want to paint on. So to start, I have fitted a pastry bag or a Ziploc bag with one of my tips, and I have put my mixed up paints in. And I am piping my paint into the shape of a flower. Now, this is where it's going to require some practice. You can really do any design you want, or you can look online for some cake decorating techniques. I was a pastry chef prior, so I really already know how to pipe with a pastry bag. But all I can tell you is the more you practice, the better your flowers will get. And you can use any kind of tip that you want. Check online for tips on what tips to use that make what kind of flowers. This is more a tutorial for just how to pipe and how to get texture and less a tutorial about decorating. So also, as you can see, there's a lot of really good color blending happening in this in these flowers. So I put in the bag, I put a couple different of colors. So as I keep piping, the colors mix and they blend, and you really get a cool mixture of paint. Now I would recommend using a white base and then adding some complementary colors or soft colors, but you can really do whatever you want. And you also don't have to make flowers with your piping. You can make just cool designs or add texture to your painting. I'm just showing you that it does retain its texture. Now, if piping isn't your thing, I also wanted to show you another technique with a palette knife. So here I'm using the same paint that I've already mixed that's thickened, and I'm putting down little circles, and I'm using my palette knife and I'm just pulling it to the center. And this is making almost an almond blossom or a cherry blossom shape. So big blob, and then using it and pulling it towards the center. Now here is a canvas that I did the day before to show you how quickly these dry. Now it's dry to the touch within 24 hours and fully dry in about a week. So I am adding another layer to add more depth, and I would recommend doing these kind of in layers, because if not, your paint will kind of all blend together. So do one layer at one time and then let it dry to the touch and do another layer. And so on this piece, I'm adding some roses. I'm using a star tip and the same paint and the same piping bag that I used before, just to go in and add more dimension and texture to this piece. Now I'm going to speed this up to hyperspeed so you can see a really fast time lapse of me piping roses on a 6-inch canvas. Again, same piping bag, same tips, and exactly the same paint as we've been talking about before. Thanks for tuning in to Acrylic Pouring with Ann Upton. I would love to hear how you guys use this texture technique in your paintings. Let me know what you think in the comments below.